यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Nitai Gaurchandra Jaya Nitai Gaurchandra Nitai Gaurchandra Jaya Nitai Gaurchandra Prabhupada 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 नाम संकीर्तन की श्रील प्रभुपाद की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः Hare Krishna, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali, text number 29. Tam jigamsum abhipritya Vihaya Nripalanchanam Tatpadamulam Shirasa Samagad Bhayavivala Tam Jigamsum Abhipretya Vihaya Nripalanchanam Tatpadamulam Shirasa Samagad Bhayavivala Tam Jigamsum Abhipretya Vihaya Nripalanchanam Tatpadamulam Shirasa Samagad Bhayavivala. तं जिगांसमभिप्रेत्य विहाय नृपलाञ्छनं तत्पादमूलं शिरसा समगाद्भयविह्वलः तं जिगांसमभिप्रेत्य विहाय नृपलाञ्छनं तत्पादमूलं शिरसा समगाद्भयविह्वलः तं जिगांसमभिप्रेत्य विहाय नृपलाञ्छनं तत्पादमूलं शिरसा समगाद्भयविह्वलः. Word meaning. Tam, him. Jigamsum, willing to kill. Abhipretya, knowing it well. Vihaya, leaving aside. Nripalanchanam, the dress of a king. Tat padamulam, at his feet. Shirasa, by the head. Samagat, fully surrendered. Bhayavivalaha, under pressure of fearfulness. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. When the personality of Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and, under pressure of fear, completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. Purport. The royal dress of the personality of Kali is artificial. The royal dress is suitable for a king or Kshatriya. But when a lower class man artificially dresses himself as a king, his real identity is disclosed by the challenge of a bona fide Kshatriya like Maharaj Parikshit. A real Kshatriya never surrenders. He accepts the challenge of his rival Kshatriya and he fights either to die or to win. Surrender is unknown to a real Kshatriya. In the age of Kali, there are so many pretenders dressed and posed like administrators or executive heads, but their real identity is disclosed when they are challenged by a real Kshatriya. Therefore, when the artificially dressed personality of Kali saw that to fight Maharaj Parikshit was beyond his ability, he bowed down his head like a subordinate and gave up his royal dress. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshiranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभुनित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, I welcome all devotees for today's morning Bhagavatam class. I'd like to beg blessings of all the devotees before I try to speak something on this exalted subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, here in the translation it says, when the personality of Kali, when he understood that the king was about to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and under pressure of fear completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. So we'll be discussing today about qualities of a Kshatriya and how Prabhupada implemented the Brahminical system by which can establish a civilized society. So, who will become the next prime minister or the next chief minister of a state or a country is always a big talk of the town. There's huge campaigning and everything that happens around it. But here throughout all this purports, we see that whoever we elect with whatever discretion that we use, at the end of the day we know that Kali is going to win, irrespective of who the leader is. Because even if someone tries his level best to do religious activities and establish some level of piety in his personal life, like whoever the leader is, if he is personally following principles, he is not made it. He's following all the four regulative principles. But to establish the whole thing in the whole society or in the country as whole, that it's a huge task. So till the time the breaking of four regulative principles is happening, that means dharma is not yet established. Like India is known to be the one of the top exporters of cow meat or cow flesh and liquor. So that means all these things are still happening irrespective of who the leader is. So the point is, irrespective of whom we try to choose with best of the discretion and best of our understanding, at the end of the day, if dharma isn't established, that means the winner of the elections is the king of Kali. Right? So here in the Hindi translation, Prabhupada uses the word Channavesh. Just like we know for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we use the word Channa Avatar. He is Lord Krishna himself, but in the disguise as a devotee. So like that here, Kali, though is not qualified Kshatriya, but is wearing the dress of a Kshatriya. And that's what Prabhupada calls it as Channavesh. Is hiding in the guise of a Kshatriya. So one of the main symptoms that we see in Kali Yuga is cheating. So that's where when we were talking about which leader to choose No, one thing is for sure that the people get cheated at the end of the day, irrespective of whatever plans are proposed to them or whatever things are promised. So we'll see some examples of Kshatriya because purport is uh, talking about Kshatriya Dharma or who a Kshatriya ideally is. So some few examples and then we'll go further in the purport. So the example of Bhishma, how he abducted the three queens, for marriage of his brother. So when he did that, he got these three queens, and then Amba, one of the three queens, she said that, no, I wanted to marry King Shalva, no, and I cannot marry anyone else. I have not thought of anyone else. So Bhishma takes her back to Shalva, and Shalva says that because you have been touched by other men, no, I cannot accept you. So this was the code of conduct even for marriage. So when she came back and then she told Bhishma that no, Shalva is not accepting me, and Bhishma said, I can't do anything about it now. I had brought you to marry my brother, but you rejected him, and then you wanted me to take you to Shalva, and he has rejected you now, so I can't do anything about it. And then the whole episode of Parshuram, his spiritual master, getting involved, and there is a fight between Bhishma and Parshuram. So again, the Kshatriya code of conduct, Bhishma at the time ready to fight, with the spiritual master. And at the end of the fight also, Amba apparently doesn't get justice. And then she does tapasya and she is born as Shikandi. And in the war of Kurukshetra, Krishna knew that only when Shikandi comes in front of Bhishma, he will not attack. So that was used as a tool to kill Bhishma. So when Shikandi came on the chariot, Bhishma stopped shooting arrows, and then Arjuna shot all those arrows, and Bhishma laid down on the bed of arrows. Arjuna in the war of Virat single-handedly fought all the Kauravas. So he didn't think of in this jungle we don't have any army. In the exile period, they didn't had any army with them. But he, one man show, all the Kauravas single-handedly had defeated. And when Pandavas, during the exile, when they went to Jarasandha, plotted by Krishna again, they went as Brahmanas. And when he asked, what charity should I give? And then they said that you can fight with one of us. And then Jarasandha intelligently chose Bhima. So there in the Krishna book it mentions about the fight. It went on for around 28 days or so. So every day morning they would meet, they would fight, and evening they would be friends again. He would do all hospitality and take care of the Pandavas. So in the evening they were no more enemies. Again in the bout ring they were again enemies next day, and that's how they fought all 28 days. So it wasn't like that whole day and night, anytime you want, you infiltrate into a region and you shoot and you start killing people. A lot of codes were followed. In the principle of protection, we hear the example of Shibi Maharaj, how he was tested. It was known that he would give justice to anyone and everyone who comes to his kingdom. So demigods tried testing his the principle of protection, where this dove once entered into one of the demigods, became a dove, and the other one became an eagle. And this eagle started chasing the dove, and the dove entered the kingdom of the palace of Shibi Maharaj. So when this dove came, dove asked the king for protection, and the king said, "I'll give you protection." And when the eagle came, eagle said that I am also one of your praja. I also and this is dove, is my food. If you are not, where Shivu Maharaj, what he did was he brought a way balance, and on one of the arms of the balance he kept the dove, and then he took out flesh from his body, and that flesh he placed on the other side of the beam balance. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So he took equivalent flesh from his own body, and that he uh, gave to the eagle. And seeing his sacrificing nature for protecting his people of his kingdom. So the eagle and the dove, they transformed into demigods, and they mentioned that they were testing Shiva Maharaj's nature. Then we also see the episode of Krishna marrying 16,000 wives. No? Generally, there is a narrative outside that Krishna is a lusty god. So how Krishna is a lusty god? Because he married 16,000 women. Ideally, the pastime goes like Krishna had saved those 16,000 queens after their fathers had requested Krishna to protect them by killing Bhaumasur. And after he had killed Bhaumasur, he had released all these queens and allowed them to go, princes, and allowed them to go back to their kingdoms. But because they said that we have been touched by another man, this Bhaumasura, who would accept us. And that's where Krishna accepted them as 16, as his wives. But at the same time, he provided for and took care of all the 16,000 wives by providing them 16,000, each one of them a palace, huge palace in Dwarka, and each one was treated as good as any other queen in Dwarka. We know the situation now, like generally a Kshatriya means, here like Parikshit Maharaj himself is inspecting his kingdom and is providing protection to the cow and the bull. But we know in the war-like situation, generally the main leaders, they don't go into the war field. No, they are somewhere sitting in their comforts, but at the same time, someone else is fighting for them. Or even in a military situation, not everyone goes on to the war field. Someone is just making plots and sending the lower rank soldiers to the war. So the Kshatriyas were to protect 5 classes. Children, women, cow, brahmanas, and old people. So these are considered the vulnerable classes in the society, and that's how Kshatriyas would provide protection to all of them. Here in this situation, we find Kali Maharaj Kaliraj is dressed as a Kshatriya. Firstly, he is trying to kill the cow instead of protecting the cow. So we find here how he is cheating by wearing the dress of a Kshatriya. So in the Kali Yuga, we see the symptoms like where we expect renunciation, we find there is illicit sex happening. Where we expect justice, there is injustice happening. All the time, it's someone else who is in power or influence gets the bias. Where there is peace, there is war. So now we find that the kings aren't like Parikshit Maharaj, like we earlier discussed, that they haven't established dharma by no, strictly making rules and regulations for the general people to follow. So you see, no matter how much ever possible, no one can come closer to what Parikshit Maharaj was, as a ruler in terms of following the principles of dharma. No, even if one wants to do good in the material world, no one cannot. Uh, so reference for this comes in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, the qualities of demoniac and the divine. No. So the 7th verse it says, Pravritrim cha nivrittim cha janana vidurasura na shaucham na pichacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. No. So here it says that those who are demoniac, they do not understand what is to be done, what is not to be done. No. They do not understand the cleanliness standards, they do not understand proper behavior, nor are they truthful. So these are the qualities mentioned. So even if someone wants to do apparently some good in the material world, still if it's not abiding by the Shastras or not aligned to the principles of Shastras, with whatever intention one may not be able to do good in the material society. Like the ideas in the material world can be quite weird. Many things that we have read in our history books, the previous history books, now they are changing. So we have read, child marriage is wrong, sati is wrong, marrying girls at an early age is wrong. So now they say that after a certain age, just for example, after a certain age they are to be married. But then if they become pregnant at an early age after puberty, and then there is abortion, that seems all right as per the modern standards. But if someone is married before a certain age, that isn't all right. So this is one example. So they have a standard that until and unless one has a PhD, then only one can marry. One person is said to Prabhupada once that in Gujarat, this was during a discussion with Prabhupada in Gujarat. So he said that there, some 50 or 70 years back, even Muslims staying there would not eat meat. That was the standard of the people there. And then one person, he came from Sindh to Gujarat, and he stayed in one family. And then there he realized that secretly the family members in the family are eating meat. And they had never told it anywhere outside, or they had not publicized it. This was a secret activity. And the Sindhi person, he asked them, I think you people do eat meat. And they're surprised. How did he come to know? Obviously, smell and taste. So then they welcomed him. You also can join us. So at one point of time, there was a situation where no one was eating meat, but then slowly, things infiltrated into the society. Like that. So on the same lines, we know that India at one point of time, India was known as a vegetarian country. But now we are known as one of the exporters of cow flesh. All the ads, all the advertisements, all the bombarding everywhere, Zomato, Swiggy, everywhere we find, it's highlighted and publicized. And because people see, and it becomes a new normal, eating meat or smoking. So breaking of the regulative principles becomes the new normal, because the way it is bombarded and the way it is shown to the people. So there is intelligent activity happening on the material platform. No, people are investing their intellect in spaceships, rockets. No, but that's called as material intelligence. Here, yeah. Next we have discussion on the qualities of Brahmana. Now, where one of the qualities is Jnanam and Vijnanam. No. So here it's material intelligence, but actual intelligence is to understand the Brahminical culture, to understand scriptures, to understand goal of life. No? What is the goal of human form of life and how to achieve it? So that is ideally real knowledge as per scriptures. So there is advancement. No, this is from one of the class that I heard by one Prabhupada disciple. No, so where he was mentioning, no, a naked woman dancing in public, no, is that your advancement? No, and then he was comparing that Darwin. He says that ideally we don't approve of Darwin's theory, but Darwin mentions a term called caveman, no, where people would be dressed in deer bark or like that, no, hardly dressed, and that's what now people are coming back to know. No, people are hardly dressed. No, but ideally, if one understands one's connection, no, to Lord Brahma, like just by knowing one's Gotra, one can understand what is his lineage or how glorious is the lineage connecting back to the, no, the creator Brahma. Then one understands that one is not supposed to follow the caveman, but one is supposed to ideally follow in the, no, in the footsteps of acharyas, how they align to the principles of dharma or principles given by Lord. No. So Gita defines Brahmana as Shama Dama Tapasaucham Shantir Arjamam Evacha Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. So these are the qualities mentioned for a Brahmana. Shama is peaceful. No. Dama is self-controlled. Shaucham, there is cleanliness. Then Shantir, there is tolerance. Then there is Jnanam and Vijnanam. So Jnanam is knowledge about spirit, knowledge about God. Vijnanam is putting that knowledge into practice and getting realizations. So realized knowledge is called as Vijnanam. So these are all qualities mentioned by Lord Krishna for one who is a Brahmana. And Prabhupada mentions that because the Brahminical culture isn't established, because we do not have a Brahminical culture like this, that's why we don't find a peaceful life or a happy life. No. Because people do not know the aim of life. No. Aim of life is to understand one's spiritual existence and to understand the goal of life. That is to connect back to Krishna. No. So Brahmana's responsibility is to give to the society the goal of life and to teach them how to progress in that direction. No. So how to progress in one's Krishna consciousness? Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mamiti sarjana. So that's real knowledge where one understands that the goal of my life is to understand the appearance and activities of the Lord, and by understanding them in principle, one can go back to the spiritual world, which is his place of origin, and then never come back to the material world of suffering. And for that, one needs to practice the process of bhakti. The siddhi or the end result of bhakti is the realization that I am servant of Krishna. Jivera swarup hoy Krishna nitya das. The siddhi or the outcome of the practice of bhakti will be that one comes to a realization that I am servant of Krishna. So all the practice and all the principles that we try to apply are aligning to moving in this direction where we can realize that I am servant of Krishna. No? And the process for doing that is chanting of the holy names. So we have been reading through all the verses, and in the upcoming verses also, the prowess and power of Kali. So how one can overcome the influence of Kali is by chanting of the holy names. There's one verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where it says, Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar, Nama Haite Haya Sarva Jagata Nistar. No? So, in this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. No? So, this is the formula which Prabhupada gave. No? The directionless illusioned society can be guided from being under the influence of Kali by the influence of power of holy name. No? One can destroy the influence of Kali. And by reading, the process is by chanting of the holy names, we purify the mind. By reading and hearing of the scriptural knowledge, we purify our intelligence. And by rendering services, we purify our false ego and try to transition towards our true ego, that is servant of Krishna. So on the positive side of Kali Yuga, there is one verse in Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 36. Kalim sabhajayanti arya gunagya sarabhagina yatra sankirtanena eva sarva swartho abhilabhyate. So Kali Yuga has an advantage which is mentioned here. Those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtan. So in different yugas, whatever processes were prescribed, like doing penance for thousands of years, or doing detailed deity worship in Dwapar Yuga, or in Satya Yuga penance for 60,000 years or so. So the benefit that was derived by doing those kind of prescribed duties can be achieved in Kali Yuga simply by adhering to the process of chanting of the holy names. So it's that simple the way it is made, but then Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is so simple that one can miss it. So one more point that I thought of while reading and going through the purport was, here Kali, the way he is dressed in the attire of a Kshatriya, disguised in the attire of a Kshatriya. So same way externally to take up the attire of a devotee, wearing dhoti kurta or tilak is very easy. But there was an article in the BTG about parrot chanting or parroting. So it's like the parrot is trained to speak some things, and he speaks it mentally or manually, you can say. As soon as his throat is choked, then he starts cracking. Something else. He starts cawing, or he makes sound cow 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 instead of if he's trained to chant the holy name. So same way externally to dress up in the attire of a devotee is a much easier task, but to follow the principles or to transform the heart to align to the principles which Prabhupada mentioned earlier, the qualities of Brahmana, or to be able to constantly chant the holy names. That whenever a crisis like catching the throat of the parrot, comes. So what comes out at that point of time decides what's the level of consciousness. So that's why crises or challenges when they come, uh, what shelter we resort to decides the level of our practice. How much on a superior platform we are, or how much internalized we are in our Krishna consciousness. So I'll just end with one story which we tell in mantra meditation circles to the students. This story is the story of a thief who became a sadhu for a day. So there was a thief who would go and steal in the villages. So one fine day he was almost about to get caught, while stealing. So what he did was he wore the dress of a sadhu and he sat under a tree, and he just made a show off of meditation. He was sitting there peacefully chanting some mantras. And one passerby, he saw that there is a saintly person here. And then he got some alms for him. And word spread around in the village that there is a sadhu there outside on the outskirts of the village. And everyone started coming and bringing something for him. Some eatables, some clothes to wear, some place for residence. All people brought some kind of charity, some kind of thing. And this sadhu started thinking and introspecting. I became sadhu, just as Channavesh. I became sadhu and I sat here and I got so much in return. So if I become a real sadhu, then what all can I get in return? So this was his thought. So same way, external attire of a devotee is much easier. But just like Kali was challenged by Parikshit Maharaj, so similarly, when our devotional service is challenged, either by an atheist putting a question on our faith and conviction in our practice, or by external crises in our personal lives, that's where our real test of our practice of bhakti comes. So by following the process given by Prabhupada, we can gradually internalize the process and at some point of time achieve the goal, that is to understand that we are servant of Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari.